Heartwarming revelation, the billionaire discovers he's her only lifeline after 12 years apart. The bustling Midwestern town shone with anticipation. The annual charity gala was the talk of the town, as socialites readied their best outfits, engaging in a gentle blend of gossip and laughter. But for Sarah, a fierce and determined nurse, the mere thought of rubbing elbows with the diligent wealthy seemed more than daunting. It felt like stumbling through a minefield. At 32, Sarah balanced the frantic demands of raising her feisty 8-year-old son, Leo, and caring for her ailing father, now dependent on her every move due to a debilitating stroke. As she scraped together what remained of hope in a mountain of medical bills, the weight particularly stung in her chest. Dreams she'd once nurtured were wilting under the stress. 12 years back, Sarah had a brilliant future ahead. She had been inseparable from Jack, a carefree soul from a prominent family. They dreamed of adventures, changing the world, and a bright life together until she lost him to fate when his family moved away. The void his absence left was a stark reminder of everything unfulfilled. Now, on this momentous evening, an unexpected chance landed in her lap, a position to showcase her nursing skills at the gala. The opportunity stirred a resilient flicker within her, a brief resurgence of the fearful optimism she'd once known. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night unfolded, the air pulsed with music, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Sarah, adorned in a modest yet classic dress, felt immensely out of place. That's when she glimpsed him across the room, a familiar figure cloaked in wealth and loneliness, Jack. Their eyes met across the crowded hall, and in that moment, the world faded away. The boy who once brimmed with adventure had transformed into a solemn billionaire, his joyful spirit locked away under ambition and disconnect. As they faced one another, buried emotions erupted. "You left without even saying goodbye," she accused, her voice trembling with the weight of years. Jack's brow furrowed with regret. "I didn't choose to go, Sarah. You were everything," he began, but she cut through his words. "Everything except the life I have now." Sarah's heart raced, thoughts of her father's fragile state and Leo's unrelenting energy surged within her. In a single moment, she poured her struggles, hopes, and dreams into him, forcing Jack to confront the disparity between their lives. Their contentious conversation became a spectacle, drawing the community together behind Sarah's plight, pushing Jack, a man who had once lived freely alongside her, to reconsider the purpose of his wealth and success. In that charged atmosphere, Sarah challenged Jack bluntly, "Does the man you've become reflect the boy who once dreamed of a life together?" As the room buzzed around them, a tableau of collective hope and fear ignited. Jack hesitated, caught between his past and present. Would he allow the fear of connection to hold him back, or could he find a way to break the barriers standing between them? The night fell heavy on their unspoken words, echoing moments of potential and regret. The flickering lights in the room cast shadows of what might yet become, leaving both Sarah and Jack poised on a precipice, ready to tumble or hope for something more. Jack's heart felt like it was in his throat as he stood facing Sarah, her words replaying endlessly in his mind. He had faced tougher challenges in business, but this was personal. Deep down, he felt the boy he used to be filled with dreams and laughter fighting against the man who had learned to bury those feelings beneath layers of responsibility. As the music swelled, mingling with the murmurs of the crowd, he took a half-step forward, searching her eyes for the anger he had anticipated. Instead, he saw vulnerability that mirrored his own, and he couldn't resist. "I've missed so much." The days leading up to tonight were clouded by regret, he confessed. The sincerity in his voice drew curious glances from onlookers, but he didn't care. All he wanted was to break through. "Does missing someone change anything?" Sarah challenged, her steely demeanor cracking just slightly. You're back in a town where people remember you as someone different. What about Leo? He deserves a father, not a distant memory. At the mention of her son, Jack's heart clenched. He knew Leo needed stability, not just from Sarah but from him as well. And does he need me, or the man I've become? His question hung in the air, thick with the weight of everything unsaid. Before Sarah could respond, a loud crash echoed from across the room. Wine splashed across the polished floor as a waiter stumbled, his tray of expensive glasses spilling everywhere. The commotion broke the charged atmosphere, pulling the attention of everyone in attendance. Jack instinctively stepped toward the disturbance, his instincts kicking in. "I'll help," he said, turning to face the chaos. As he assisted the flustered waiter, Sarah watched, her heart racing. Jack's confidence returned, revealing a glimmer of the boy she remembered. That flicker of compassion brought her conflicting emotions into sharper focus. Could he really change? Could they possibly find common ground? When Jack returned to her side, his demeanor had shifted. "Let us not part ways again without trying for more. I want to be there for you, for Leo, but I need you to meet me halfway." "Do you really mean that?" Sarah whispered, fear and hope swirling in her chest. "I do," he said, stepping closer, his voice low yet unwavering. "Give me a chance to prove that I can be better." Just then, a spotlight turned on, illuminating them in the middle of the dance floor, making their private moment public. Eyes were upon them, and the intensity of their exchange ramped up as cameras flashed. This was more than embarrassing, this was a turning point. The tension between them was palpable, fueled by their unresolved past. Sarah could feel the eyes of the townsfolk on them, the scrutiny, the curiosity, the excitement. She had battled so many things alone, yet here stood Jack, an old friend, one with the power to change everything. What was she willing to risk? The safety of her current life? The unanswered promise of love? In that moment, every fiber of her being urged her to seize the opportunity. But with it came the fear of vulnerability, a risk she hadn't dared to take since Jack left. With her heart pounding, she locked eyes with him, daring him to hold her gaze. He couldn't hide behind his wealth tonight, it was time to show who he truly was. Then, with an unexpected twist, the gala MC announced a surprise fundraising auction, the proceeds going to support families like Sarah's. Jack turned to her, a spark igniting in his eyes. "Let us bid together." Sarah's breath hitched. Did he truly want to share this night with her, to redefine their paths? As the crowd erupted in applause, the atmosphere shifted. But in her heart, Sarah wondered, could they both step beyond their fears and into something extraordinary, or would it all come crashing down once again? With the evening's potential hanging in the balance, she nodded slowly, holding his gaze. "Let us take that first step." But as they moved toward the stage, Sarah caught sight of something, an ominous figure lurking at the edge of the gala, an unexpected crisis that threatened to unravel everything. What awaited them in the shadows, just out of sight, felt like a storm brewing on the horizon. As they walked toward the stage, the noise of the gala faded into the background, the swirl of laughter and music fading to a distant hum. Sarah's focus turned sharp, her instincts prompting her to scan the room for the figure lurking just beyond the glow of light and celebration. Jack, caught up in the momentum of their decision, took a step forward before she stopped him. "Wait," she said, her voice barely a whisper, urgency threading through her tone. "Look over there." Jack turned to see a shadowy figure leaning against a pillar, arms crossed, a hard expression on his face. His features were obscured, but the unease that rippled through Sarah was unmistakable. "Who is that?" Jack asked cautiously, his gaze narrowing. "I don't know, but I have a feeling I should," she admitted, her heart racing as fear crept in. Memories swirled past encounters and unresolved issues that haunted her. The last thing she wanted was for the past to rear its ugly head now, during a moment that felt like it had the potential to change their futures. "Stay close," Jack said, instinctively moving to shield her as he led her down a path that skirted around the dancing crowd. With each step, the figure's identity began to take shape. The crowd parted slightly, and a flicker of recognition washed over Sarah, chilling her to the core. "It's Kyle," she breathed out, eyes widening. Kyle had been a dark influence in her life, someone who had made everything difficult during those turbulent years after Jack left. "Who's Kyle?" Jack asked, his voice low, tension creeping into his posture. He's my ex. The one I couldn't escape from." She felt a rush of regret mingled with fear, memories of arguments, of being trapped, flooded her mind. But she had fought hard for her independence, and she wasn't about to let him ruin this moment with Jack. "Should we confront him?" Jack's gaze hardened, protective instincts kicking in. Sarah shook her head. "No, let us just keep moving. I don't want him to ruin this." As they moved further away from the crowd, Sarah heard Kyle's voice reverberate through the hall. "Oh, look who decided to show up. Playing house with the big shot now, are we?" His sarcasm dripped with malice. The laughter and music around them faded into an ominous silence, and Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat. Jack stiffened beside her, tension coursing through him like electricity. "Don't listen to him," he whispered, his eyes fierce. But Sarah could feel every probing gaze in the room boring into her. The whispers, the judgments, they sent her heart racing. "What are people thinking?" she thought. "Just focus on me," Jack said, pulling her closer, his expression softening. "You've overcome so much. Don't let him take your power." Taking a deep breath, Sarah forced herself to regain her composure. She couldn't let fear control her. "You're right. I've come a long way," she said, straightening her back. "Let's show him just how far." Together, they turned to confront Kyle. With renewed resolve, Sarah walked towards him, Jack firmly at her side, feeling strength radiate through her. She was ready to reclaim her truth, to face the ghosts of her past head-on. "Is this what you want, Kyle?" she said, her voice steady. "To tear down what I've built? I won't let you." The tension was palpable, the crowd around them drawing closer as the air thickened with anticipation. "Who do you think you are?" Kyle shot back, but there was a crack in his bravado now. Sarah could see the doubt flickering in his eyes, and it filled her with a surge of hope. Jack stepped forward, his presence a protective barrier. "She's someone you don't mess with. Enough is enough." In that moment, surrounded by the audience of curious onlookers, Sarah felt empowerment flood through her. This was about more than just her, it was about Jack and their chance to rebuild what was broken. But just as she felt the tide turning, another crash echoed through the venue, another alarming distraction that drew everyone's attention. Jack turned to her, determination sparking in his eyes, but what would come next? Would their newfound strength hold against the weight of the past? Or would another danger derail their fragile connection before it could even blossom anew? The crash reverberated through the hall, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. She turned instinctively toward the source, her heart pounding in her chest. The room fell silent, every eye drawn to a group near the entrance where chairs had toppled over, and guests were gasping. "What now?" Jack said, a mix of irritation and concern on his face. Without thinking, Sarah stepped back, her protective instincts flaring up. She wanted to retreat, to shield herself from both Kyle and whatever chaos had erupted. But Jack's hand on her arm kept her rooted. "We're not backing down," he said fiercely, locking eyes with her. Kyle seemed momentarily distracted, his expression shifting from hostility to curiosity as he turned to watch the commotion. But the moment was fleeting, and soon he was back on her, eyes narrowing. "Look at you, Sarah. All bravado and nonsense, but crumbling inside," he sneered, stepping closer. "Stop it," Jack warned, his voice low but steady. "You don't know what you're talking about." Kyle shrugged off Jack's warning, a smirk lingering on his lips. There's nothing crumbling. Just memories of someone who will always be scared of her own shadow. The word stung. Sarah blinked, fighting back the memories that threatened to drown her again. Bitterness wrapped around her like ivy, but she refused to let it hold her down. It was just noise, she had risen above this. Suddenly, another crash, this time, a glass shattered, the loud sound cutting through the tension like a knife. People gasped and shuffled away from the scene. Anxiety bloomed in the air, thickening the atmosphere more than before. "Stay here," Jack urged, glancing back at the chaos as if assessing the situation. Sarah felt her pulse quicken again. "This is ridiculous. Let us just leave," she exclaimed, the words spilling out before she could stop them. The last thing she wanted was for their moment to be ruined by Kyle's provocation and the unfolding mess around them. And let him think he wins? Jack's frustration was palpable. "We're not a couple to walk away from a challenge. I'm trying to protect you, Jack." The sound of her voice, wavering slightly, betrayed her concern. "Things can escalate quickly." His blue eyes softened. "We can handle whatever happens next, together. Remember?" That simple reminder fueled her courage. They had faced so much together already. She wasn't going to let Kyle steal this moment. Sarah squared her shoulders, glancing between Jack and Kyle. Taking a deep breath, she locked her gaze on Kyle, growing more resolute. "You think I'm scared? Look at your life. You think insulting me will make me weak? I'm stronger than that." The room was the quietest it had been all night, anticipation building like a thick fog. Kyle's expression flickered with surprise, but he quickly masked it. The sneer returned. "This is just a phase, Sarah. You'll realize your mistake sooner or later." "No, I'm standing my ground," she replied defiantly, feeling fire ignite within her. "You don't define me anymore, Kyle." Jack tightened his grip on her hand, the warmth grounding her even amidst the tension. Sarah glanced at him, and she could see pride shining in his eyes. "Enough of this," Jack said, stepping closer to Kyle, anger tinging his voice. "You can't just come here and think you can disrupt someone else's life like that." In that moment, a new sound cut through the air. The shattering of glass was followed by surprised gasps from the other side of the room. There seemed to be an argument breaking out, voices rising. People began to move toward it, some excited while others apprehensive. Something inside her shifted. This felt different, threatening. "What is happening?" she whispered, feeling a knot in her stomach. Jack's expression turned serious. "We may need to get out of here. This could get worse." Before Sarah could respond, Kyle took a step back, gauging the room. "Looks like you're not the only one with a past," he hissed, a newfound glimmer of satisfaction in his tone. As Sarah turned toward the source of the disruption, dread pooled in her chest. "What do you mean?" Just then, a familiar voice rang out, drowning everything else in its fervor. "We're here for Sarah and Jack. No one can keep them apart." Her heart dropped. It was one of her old friends, a face thought long gone. What would this mean for her? Would the past claim her again, thrusting her into chaos once more, or was this the moment where she could finally let go? The tension in the room shifted again, but this time it was electric, as if the air itself crackled with potential. Would this new revelation bring more danger, or would it ignite a sense of unity, a resolve to reclaim not just her moment but her entire life? The moment hung in the air like a held breath. Sarah's mind raced. Her friend, Mia, had been a constant source of support during the most difficult chapters of her life. Every laugh they shared, every tear they shed together, had etched deep into Sarah's heart. But to see Mia now unexpected, fear sent shivers up her spine. Jack tensed beside her. "Do you want to talk to her?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with curiosity. I don't know." Sarah couldn't tear her eyes away from Mia. Was this truly a moment of solidarity, or would it bring everything crashing down like glass again? The shadows of past pain felt heavy, but she could see the determination in Mia's stance. The crowd murmured, a ripple of confusion and intrigue passing through them. Kyle's smirk faltered as he processed the unfolding scene. Interesting choice of allies, he muttered, folding his arms. Mia pushed through the throng, her expression resolute. "I knew you two would be here," she exclaimed, her bright eyes catching the light, instantly throwing warmth onto the tension. Lost in a swirl of conflicting emotions, Sarah managed a smile. "Mia. What are you doing here?" With a quick glance at Jack, Mia planted herself firmly in the middle of them. "You're both important to me. I couldn't let you face him alone. Plus, I heard about Kyle and wanted to see for myself." She shot Kyle a glare that could crack mirrors. "People change, Mia," Kyle replied, feigning indifference, but Sarah caught the slight tightening of his jaw. Mia turned to Sarah, her voice softening. "You don't have to let him rob you of this moment, Sarah. You've come so far. Remember how we used to talk about confronting everything? This is your chance." A burst of strength ignited within Sarah. The hint of defiance in Mia's voice echoed her own resolve. "You're right," she replied, glancing at Jack, who nodded with pride. Jack stepped forward, positioning himself at Sarah's side. "Together, we can face whatever Kyle throws at us." Kyle rolled his eyes. "You think this is cute? I'm just getting started. Is that all you've got?" Sarah said, finding her voice, feeling an electrifying mix of fear and strength. "We are not defined by past mistakes. Not today, not ever." The crowd buzzed with energy as their eyes shifted between them and the unfolding drama. Some whispered encouragements, while others wondered how far the confrontation would escalate. "Watch yourself, Kyle," Mia snapped, her gaze unyielding. "The past is not a weapon. It's a lesson." The room shifted again, the faces of guests transforming from curiosity to engagement, cheering for Sarah and Jack, for strength in the face of adversity. "We're done listening to you," a voice called from the back, and a ripple of support seemed to wash over the group. Kyle bristled, his eyes flashing with irritation. "You think this changes anything? You think you can just forget me?" "That's exactly what we're doing," Jack said, his tone fierce. "You've been in our shadows long enough. Time to step out into the light." Sarah felt heat rise in her chest. This was more than defending herself, it was about reclaiming her freedom. "You're not going to control this moment any longer, Kyle." The atmosphere thickened, charged with anticipation. She could see his facade cracking, just beneath the surface where vulnerability lurked. "You're so very misguided," he hissed, half-heartedly. In a heartbeat, a shout rang out. "Sarah, we believe in you." Others joined in, their voices a chorus of support. The room surged with energy, igniting a wave of empowerment. For a moment, Sarah held her ground, lifted by the roar of her friends and supporters. "This isn't just about me. It's about everyone who has faced adversity like this." Tension radiated between her and Kyle, but she remained steadfast, knowing that the past, while an integral part of her story, would no longer dictate her path. As the vocal storm around them simmered down, the atmosphere felt electric, thick with the unspoken question of what would happen next. Could she really forge ahead, leaving Kyle behind for good, or was another confrontation lurking just around the corner? The air felt heavy with possibilities, each breath a reminder that her story was just beginning to unfold. What would emerge from the ashes of this confrontation? And how would she face what came next without the shadows of the past weighing her down? Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline pulse through her veins. The crowd's energy invigorated her as if each cheer lit sparks in the darkness created by the past. For the first time in ages, she truly envisioned a future free of the torment Kyle had caused. With Mia and Jack at her side, she felt anchored, no longer floating in a storm of uncertainty. Kyle was right there, a shadow of her past that threatened to choke her with familiarity. But she was done living in fear and regret. "Mia," Sarah began, her voice shaky but growing stronger, "thank you for standing with me." "I can't, you don't have to say anything," Mia cut in, squeezing Sarah's hand tightly. "Just know we're all here for you." "Yeah," Jack added, his gaze unwavering, fixed on Kyle's sneer. "We're a team now. So why don't you just walk away?" Kyle straightened, his bravado flickering like a dying flame. "You're outnumbered, you know. This little support group won't save you from your reality." His sneer turned wicked as he focused on Sarah. "You're still vulnerable. I can see it in your eyes." A chill swept through Sarah, but before it took root, she inhaled deeply and pushed it away. "You're wrong, Kyle. I've grown. I'm not that scared girl anymore." She stepped forward, mirroring Mia's earlier fierceness. "You diminish me if you think I'll let you get to me again." The crowd reacted like a wave at her declaration, a chorus of solidarity echoing back at her. Their faith in her swelled like a tide. "You belong in the past," someone yelled, inspiring a ripple of agreement. "It's funny," Kyle said, feigning amusement. "You think you can speak for everyone. But they don't know how dark it can get when I'm involved." He moved toward her, and the air thickened with tension. She could feel her heart pounding, each beat a reminder of what stood at stake. "What are you going to do, Kyle?" She shot back, empowered by the deep connections she forged over time. "You can't intimidate me anymore. Those days are over." She couldn't believe she was saying it out loud. The words tasted sweet on her tongue, carrying the weight of liberation. The crowd drew nearer as whispers of encouragement enveloped her like a warm blanket. Kyle's smirk faltered, revealing a fleeting glimpse of uncertainty. "You're making a mistake. You're reaching too high." "Maybe," Jack said, crossing his arms. "But you're the one standing on shaky ground." In that moment, Sarah felt the shift. The power was swinging back into her hands. The realization settled through her like a warm fire on a cold night. She could break free from the ties that had bound her. The murmurs in the crowd intensified, voices rising in a crescendo of belief. "She's stronger than you think," a person murmured, urging the group to lean into the moment. "I am stronger," Sarah breathed, her voice almost a whisper but laced with iron. "I'm strong enough to stand here and choose my own path." With emotions swirling, she looked to Mia and Jack, who nodded in affirmation. She could taste the sweetness of victory on her lips, but she knew Kyle wouldn't go quietly. The glimmer of determination in his eyes warned her that the fight was far from over. Just as she felt hope blossom in her chest, Kyle's face contorted into a snarl. "You think this is a game? I have the power to ruin you." Nobody in the crowd shuddered. Instead, they moved in closer, a buffer against the potential storm. "Just try," Mia said, voice steady. "We're united." "You forgot that part." Sensing the strength of her friends and the support of those around her, Sarah knew one thing for certain: whatever Kyle had in store, they would face it together. And standing tall among them, she felt the electric anticipation of something new and potentially transformative sparking into life. But as Kyle's eyes darted across the crowd, she couldn't shake the feeling that he had one last trick up his sleeve. What would his next move be? Would he finally get desperate enough to show his true colors? The tension hung in the air, begging for resolution, but Sarah remained steadfast. Behind her, she could feel her community rallying. Their belief unshakable. "I'm ready for whatever you have next, Kyle," Sarah said, her voice stronger than she ever thought possible. "This story isn't just mine. It belongs to all of us." And as she took a deep breath, a chill swept through her. What awaited her in the next confrontation, she couldn't predict, but she was prepared to face it. What if Kyle planned something unthinkable? How much farther would he go to regain control? The stakes were higher than ever. The air crackled with tension, thick enough to cut through with a knife. Sarah's heart raced, not with fear but with the exhilaration of possibilities unwrapping before her. She glanced sideways at Mia and Jack, their eyes reflecting the same steely resolve that coursed through her. "Is that all you've got, Kyle?" she called out, her voice ringing clear, empowered by the solidarity surrounding her. Anger flickered in Kyle's eyes, just beneath the bravado. It was gratifying, even refreshing, to witness. "Really? You think this is strength?" He shot back, venom dripping from his words. "You're inviting trouble." But Sarah barely felt the sting. Instead, it propelled her forward. "Trouble is exactly what I'm ready for. Bring it on." The crowd cheered, their voices a warm wave washing over her, a balm for wounds that had yet to heal. She felt emboldened, standing on a foundation built by shared experiences, laughter, and a support system that had developed in ways she never anticipated. Kyle's simmering rage mixed with desperation as he scanned the crowd. It was a fragile mixture, one that could either explode or crumble under its own weight. "You think you're safe here?" he barked, gesturing wildly. "These people don't know you like I do." "They know enough to stand with me," Sarah replied, her voice unwavering. "You're not in control anymore." In that moment, she caught a flicker of doubt crossing Kyle's face, a momentary crack in his facade. It filled her with hope. Was he truly losing his grip? Was he not as formidable as he had once seemed? "Do you even hear yourself?" He laughed, but it was hollow, lacking the previously menacing depth. "You're fighting a war you can't win. And when you fail, I'll be right here to see it." Her breath caught, an unsettling notion creeping in. What would failure look like? Would it mean returning to that past of silence, shadows, and pain? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but it also ignited something deep within her. "No, I refuse to go back," she whispered fiercely. "You can't take me where I no longer belong. Not now. Not ever." Around her, murmurs of agreement grew louder. A chant began to grow from the depths of conviction. People were rising together. It was a drumbeat, calling for change, for acceptance, for strength. "Stand with me," she called out to the crowd. "We won this battle together, and we will win the next." They surged forward, a wave of unity moving as one. Sarah could almost touch the energy pulsating in the air, the shared heartbeats of those who had once been hidden in shadows, but were now stepping into the light. It was intoxicating. But then she noticed at the clutch of a cell phone in Kyle's hand, poised and ready. Her heart sank as realization dawned. He could reach out, stir the pot where it could hurt the most. Would he leak something from the past, something she wasn't ready to face? "Don't you dare!" she shouted, an edge slicing through her bravado. "If you even think about using that to further your twisted agenda." His smile returned, a cruel twist on his lips. "Let us see how fast this can spread." And just like that, fear wrapped its tendrils around her again. What would happen if he released the details of their past, the wounds still fresh? Would it send her spiraling back into the depths of despair? Sarah felt her world tilt but then steadied herself. "You might spread fear, Kyle, but love is louder. And love is on my side." Before Kyle could muster a response, a voice rang out from the crowd, filled with conviction. "Together, we can face anything." "Together," Sarah echoed, as the crowd lined up behind her, their presence a fortress of hope and belief. But as she locked eyes with Kyle, a question loomed larger than anything she could prepare for. If he pressed that button, how would it change everything? How far was he willing to go? With a heart full of courage, she braced herself for the inevitable and prayed it wouldn't shatter her reality. The tension in the air shifted, crackling with uncertainty as Sarah's heart thudded in her chest. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, the ground beneath her feet both thrilling and terrifying. She held her breath and looked at Mia and Jack, the unwavering force of friendship anchoring her. "Sarah, don't let him get to you," Jack's voice was a firm whisper, as if channeling a lifeline from within the storm. She nodded, but Kyle's eyes were dark pools of malice. "Fear is a powerful weapon, and you don't even know how to wield it," he taunted, waving the phone in the air as if it were a magic wand. "You think they will take your side if they see the real you? The scared little girl hiding behind a mask? Scared?" Sarah whispered almost to herself. She considered that word scared. But she also thought about strength, resilience, and all the lessons she had learned on this journey. Mia stepped forward, her fists clenched by her sides. "You're wrong, Kyle. We're not just standing with her, we're standing against you." The crowd erupted in cheers, voices mingling together like a powerful song. The room buzzed with raw energy, a current of unity that pushed Sarah forward. But then, in the midst of her heart swelling with hope, a pang of doubt wormed its way in. What if Kyle's next move was too much? "Do you know what happens next?" Kyle sneered. "You'll all be back where you started, kneeling to someone like me. Just watch." He raised the phone, the screen glowing ominously under the harsh lights. For that fleeting moment, everything in Sarah's world seemed to narrow down to that one device, an iron clasp poised to reveal her past, her insecurities laid bare in front of those she loved. "No!" she shouted, stepping closer to him. "You are not going to control me or this moment." But Kyle only chuckled, brushing aside her boldness like it was nothing. "Why don't I show them what a real fight looks like?" Before he could hit send, an unexpected voice cut through the chaos. "You're wrong about her, Kyle." The words came from a figure in the crowd. It was Eric, someone she had once known and shared laughter with in better days. The surprise of seeing him brought warmth flooding back, along with memories, a scent of summer rain and the glow of innocence lost. "I've seen Sarah face her demons," Eric continued, stepping forward. "She has fought battles you can't even begin to comprehend. No video or message will change that." Shock rippled through the crowd. Sarah felt the warmth of the moment as more people rallied around her, one by one, echoing Eric's sentiments. "We're here for each other," shouted another voice. Kyle's confidence faltered for the first time. "Fine, if you think this is strength," he spat, but even his bravado was frayed at the edges. Sarah seized the moment. "Together we will rise, no matter what you try to do to tear us down. Our story isn't marred by your twisted version of the truth." She felt power coursing through her, washing away the shadows that clung to her. The pulse of unity spiraled around her, solidifying their resolve. It was intoxicating to witness their determination to stand against someone who thrived on fear. But in that empowerment came a creeping shadow of uncertainty. Did she truly have what it takes to face whatever Kyle might unleash? What if this battle unleashed a darkness she had not prepared for? Just as her heart locked onto that question, Kyle smirked again, a calculating glint in his eyes. "Oh, but you have no idea what's coming next." At that moment, Sarah knew deep down she was just beginning to fight the real war. If Kyle pressed that send button, how would she and her friends hold the line against a storm ready to break? The energy in the room felt electric, a charge palpably shifting as Sarah faced Kyle. The weight of the moment pressed against her chest, but it was the support of her friends that grounded her. Jack's hand squeezed her shoulder tightly, and Mia stood ready, unwavering. Kyle's smirk faltered as he scanned the sea of faces turning against him. "You all think you're so strong?" he shot back, his voice growing shriller. "Just wait and see what happens when I pull the trigger on this." He raised the phone again, but Sarah stepped forward, feeling the sureness swell within her. "You misunderstand what's happening here. It's not just about fear or exposure. It's about resilience. We won T back down." Those words captured the crowd, and a wave of applause surged through them, drowning out Kyle's mockery. The cheers escalated, as if a dam had burst, filling every space in the room with a symphony of support. Sarah! Sarah! They chanted, the rhythm pulsing through her veins. She could feel the thrill and terror dance at the edges of her courage. But Kyle's laughter echoed, a harsh sound that reverberated in the charged air. You think this is enough? You think this changes anything? His confidence, laced with desperation, only seemed to amplify those nerves creeping back into her mind. What else do you have in that little mind of yours, Kyle? Mia stepped ahead, her voice cutting through the hostility. Hiding behind your phone while the rest of us are standing strong? Real strength doesn't rely on bullying, Eric added, stepping beside Mia, which bolstered Sarah's spirit even further, igniting a fire in her belly. Kyle's hand shook slightly as he glanced at the faces around him. The once daunting crowd had now become a united front, a wall against the storm he was trying to unleash. You think this ends well for you? He warned, but even he seemed to sense the shift of power. Maybe not for you, Jack chimed in, causing a ripple of laughter through the crowd. Sarah drew in a breath and realized this was her moment. She had nothing to lose. You want a fight? She shouted, her voice breaking through the noise. I'll show you what it means to really fight. The words lit a spark. The crowd roared back, a collective affirmation igniting the room. Sarah felt their energy bolstering her. In that moment, she saw something flicker in Kyle's eyes: doubt. But before she could lean into that feeling, Kyle turned serious again. Fine. If you're so confident, let us raise the stakes, he said slowly, lowering his phone. Let us see what happens when I count to 3. What do you mean? Sarah's heart raced, the panic creeping back into her mind. Was he bluffing? 3. Kyle's voice rolled like thunder, echoing through the now silent space. Don't do this. Eric shouted, his voice filled with urgency, but it was too late. Anticipation hung thick in the air like smoke, choking the breath out of everyone. 2. The crowd was hushed, even the cheering had turned to nervous murmurs. 1. Kyle bellowed, and in that moment, the world around Sarah seemed to stand still, as if time had forgotten its purpose. Just as she braced herself for the fallout that seemed imminent, she noticed a flicker of movement in the crowd. Someone was breaking through the gathered sea of faces, moving directly towards them. It was someone she didn't recognize, but the urgency in their steps sent a rush of adrenaline through her. Who was this newcomer? What were they bringing with them? With fear and hope battling inside her, Sarah prepared for whatever was about to unfold. The next chapter of this confrontation had begun, and she could only guess what it would bring. Would this stranger add to the chaos, or would they tip the balance in her favor? The crowd parted like the Red Sea as a tall figure emerged, exuding an air of confidence and purpose. Sarah squinted, heart racing with uncertainty. Who was this person, and what storm were they about to introduce into her fragile new reality? It was a journalist from a local newspaper. Sarah recognized him now: Ethan. He had covered stories in their town many times before, always searching for the truth. Realization struck like a flash of lightning. If anyone could expose Kyle for the manipulative force he was, it was him. Sarah. Ethan called, breathless yet determined, shaking hands with familiarity amidst the rising tension. I got here just in time. I know what's happening, and I'm here to help. The shift in the atmosphere was palpable. The crowd turned to Ethan, drawn to his energy and authoritative presence. Kyle's expression contorted with frustration, realizing his game was about to unravel. What do you think you can do? Kyle sneered, his bravado slipping. You think you're going to make a difference? I think I can tell the truth, Ethan shot back, glancing between Kyle and Sarah. This isn't just about your sordid past, Kyle. It's about Sarah's present and her determination to move forward. You've underestimated what the community will stand behind. Courage surged through Sarah. The power of fandom hung in the air, fueled by the connections and relationships cultivated over the years. "That's right, Kyle," she added, stepping closer to Ethan, emboldened by his arrival. "This moment isn't about your sad attempts to control me. We're more than just survivors, we're fighters. We support each other and won't allow your toxicity to seep into our lives." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices drowning out Kyle's malice. They now stood united, a wall of support forming around Sarah, Jack, and Mia. The energy thickened, a palpable force ready to tackle anything thrown at them. Kyle faltered, eyes wide with rage and disbelief. "You think it's enough? You all think you can change everything overnight just because you have some misguided sense of courage?" "It's not misguided," Jack replied, his voice steady and strong. "True courage means standing together. And today, we stand for truth, for love, for healing. You may have once been someone who led with fear, Kyle, but this time it's our turn." The crowd roared even louder, the applause now a unified symphony that reverberated off the walls. Each cheer felt like a balm, soothing old wounds and igniting a renewed sense of hope. Finding strength in the moment, Sarah leaned toward Ethan. "Can you help us reach out to the local community? Shine a light on what Kyle has done. Bring out the truth?" "Absolutely," Ethan affirmed, his gaze sharp and purposeful. "We'll cover this from every angle, expose the patterns. When you stand together, darkness has nowhere to hide." Kyle, sensing the tides turning, clenched his jaw. "This isn't over, Sarah. You think you've won? The real fight has just begun." Sarah met his glare, unwavering. "Go ahead, Kyle. Show us who you are, and we'll show you who we've become. You don't scare us anymore." With Kyle's attempt to control crumbling, the realization hit Sarah like a warm embrace. They could push through the shadows of the past together. This was not just a battle, it was a pivotal moment, a chance to reclaim their lives and ensure no one else would suffer in silence. As the atmosphere shifted fully, wild energy surged throughout the room. The crowd rallied together, a vibrant display of shared power and unbreakable bonds. This was where Sarah belonged. Together, they would rise, not just for her, but for everyone who had ever faced similar struggles. "Let's take this moment," Sarah shouted, conviction radiating. "And turn it into a movement. A movement for those who have yet to find their voice." The crowd echoed, enthusiasm pushing higher with every fervent cheer. And as Sarah stood tall, surrounded by love, loyalty, and a fierce determination to transition from past pain into a future illuminated by hope, she comprehended one truth: the scars would always be a part of her story, but they didn't define her. They were now just reminders of strength and resilience. In that moment, everything felt possible. The past was behind her, and the future was brightening on the horizon, painted in shades of courage, aligned with promises of flourishing new beginnings. With hearts bound tight, Sarah, Jack, Mia, and their community looked toward a path paved by an unwavering determination, ready for whatever came next together. Now, as your crucial moment arrives, don't let it slip away. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and champion stories of hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the undeniable importance of this community. You need to subscribe now.